Hi, and welcome back to Love Restored. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan. Today, we're talking about getting the relationship that you want. Now, when you're restoring the love, getting the relationship that you want falls right in line, because not only are we getting our relationships with ourselves together and restoring the love for ourselves, we also must take that into restoring the love for our loved ones, for our relationships, right? So what I'm going to be talking about today, you can apply it to yourself, your own relationship, but you also can apply it. You can also apply it to your romantic relationships, as well as a lot of other relationships out there that you want to restore and to repair. So in order to get to the relationship that you want, you have to first understand what that looks like. What does that mean? By asking yourself, who do I want to be in relationship with, as well as how do I want to show up in that relationship? So if you are dating, right, you want to get an understanding of who you want to be in a relationship with, but also whether you are dating or not in a relationship, married, in a long-term relationship, engaged, etc. You also must ask yourself, who do I want to be while being in relationship with other people, right? So you have to understand, when you ask yourself these deeper questions, there are going to be things that you bring up that are just not going to sit well with you. These questions should make you think even more. And that thinking, the stuff that comes up, usually is not the stuff that most of us want or seek out to deal with. It is the stuff that comes to you when it is quiet, when everything around you is quiet, which usually happens at night or very early in the morning. Again, when it's still dark outside, not many people are awake. The world around you is still usually quiet. These are the times and these are the moments that you want to ask yourself reflective questions that you can reflect on to see how you are coming off, as well as how you want to show up and come off to those around you. So some of the type of questions that you can ask yourself literally is, who do I want to be? While I'm in this relationship, who do I want to show up as in this relationship? As a mom, who do I want to be in relationship with my child or children? As a dad or father, who do I want to be and how do I want to show up with my child or children? What's important to me while I'm in relationship with myself first, but also my romantic relationship? What type of daughter or son do I want to be to my parents? What type of brother or sister do I want to be to my siblings? So asking yourself who and what you want to be while you're in relationship will open up the door and give yourself an understanding and lead you toward getting the relationship that you want. Again, the relationship with yourself is first, and then getting the relationship that you want with your spouse, your child or children, your siblings, your parents or guardians, your friends, etc. Right? Getting the relationship that you want, you have to understand this part right here, your mind. Your mindset must change and shift from where it is today so you can have a better perspective of not only yourself, but also the person that you are in relationship with. So you can get a better understanding to say, okay, he's reacting this way because X, Y, and Z. And a clear example is he's reacting negatively toward me in this moment because of how I fill in the blank, how I showed up, how my tone of voice was, how my timing was off. Again, not your fault, but getting understanding. So you want to shift your perspective about how your life is going, how that conversation or argument went or is currently going in the moment, how you can change things around to get back on track, but being able to really say, this is not how I want these things to unfold. And then understanding that you have the power to do something about them. Because you do. And you shall, and you will, and you must. When you're getting the relationship that you want, you have to be brutally honest with yourself about the things that you need to change, about the things that you want, about the things that you need, about everything in order to get it. This all boils around your communication style. But you have to be aware of the things that you want and then be honest when you are relating these things to your spouse and even to yourself. Because if you're lying to yourself, if you're lying to your spouse, then how are you ever going to get the things that you say that you want and or need? You won't. And then only thing that will come from that is you being frustrated. You feeling like, what the heck is going on? Why am I here? Why are we together? But a lot of it has to do with you and how you're showing up so they can respond to you, so they can respond to the things that you need, and really give your partner or spouse a chance to give you what you need by you being brutally honest about the things that you need. No matter how tiny, no matter how huge, or somewhere in between all of that stuff. But you have to be brutally honest in how you communicate. Now, brutally honest does not mean being rude. It just means instead of you holding all of that stuff in and expecting different results, doing the same thing, which is the definition of insanity. Instead of you doing that, it means you choosing to do something different, showing up differently. Maybe your tone is always up here, and maybe you need to bring your tone down to here so you can articulate the things that you want, articulate the things that you need, as well as give your partner the opportunity to truly hear you out. Instead of you guys going back and forth like this, where nobody's listening, you're getting nothing accomplished, there's no resolution when you're up here. When you're here, your spouse or partner can hear you. And you're able to just say what you need to say, no matter how he or she takes it. Because it's not your responsibility to feel a certain type of way based off of how he or she is going to receive what you're trying to give them, what you're trying to say to them. Being brutally honest just means just that. It means you saying, standing in and owning the things that you want to need without you having to feel like you need to be rude, get loud to prove a point, because you don't. And the secret to getting what you want is actually speaking softer. Now, why is that important? It is important because now your spouse has to be quiet and lean in and listen to what you have to say, versus being back here because you loud and they're tuning you out. When you're quiet and you're still calm and you're able to articulate what you need without yelling, cussing, fussing, and fighting, now this is when you change the tables. Because just think about this. Whenever your child wants something and they know that they probably shouldn't ask because maybe you've already told them no, they start to get quiet. And me personally, I have to tell my daughter, speak up, I can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying. But it's because I'm really trying to hear what she's saying, right? Your partner and your relationships are no different. they're no different because we're all people. We're all looking for connection. We're all looking for understanding and to be understood. And so in order for me to understand what my daughter is trying to say to me, I have to now be quiet, lean in and ask her, hey, can you repeat that? Or mommy didn't hear you, say it again. That's the secret. She gets my attention every single time when she does that. And every single time I do that, I get everybody's attention whom I'm really trying to get. Take that piece of advice. When you're trying to be brutally honest without being rude, just lower your voice. So the person now has to be quiet, lean in, and really pay attention to what you're saying. Getting the relationship that you want from others requires you to understand what your deal breakers are. Now, I don't care what stage of the relationship that you're in. If you do not know what your deal breakers are, you really need to take the time, take about 15 to 30 minutes to take out a sheet of paper, a pen or a pencil, and write those things down. The things that you know that you cannot and will not stay in relationship with anyone. This is including your spouse, but not limited to your friendships and anybody else that you come in contact with. So you can get the relationship that you want. And the relationships that you want and the people that you want to be around you are the people that respect your rules, that honor what you are saying, as well as appreciate that you are putting some boundaries into place. Right? Because when you don't have boundaries in place, people have a tendency to walk all over you. They tend to do whatever they want to do. And guess what? You have the power to teach people how to treat you. You have that power. But if you don't understand what your deal breakers are in the first place, you're flailing around like a fish out of water. You don't understand, like you don't like it, but you don't know if you should accept this behavior, if you should stay in this relationship, if you should ask for him or her to stop. Like you don't know that because you have not taken the time to sit down and understand what your deal breakers are. And when somebody does break one of your rules, to give them some consequences, to enforce said deal breaker. So in this case, if it is a relationship and you said you had a discussion, an open, honest conversation where you were brutally honest to say, hey, these are my deal breakers. If these things occur, this is what the consequences will be. Now, what some people do is actually say something like that. Have the rules, they have the conversation, the deal breakers, the understanding. You have the conversation and say, hey, if X, Y, and Z happens, this is what's going to happen. But the part that most people fail on is that when it comes time to enforce said deal breakers, said rules, we don't enforce the rules. And then we're frustrated and pissed off at ourselves because we didn't enforce the rules. But then also we're frustrated and pissed off at the other person because they didn't respect the boundary. But the truth of the matter is, you have to make them respect your boundaries or not. And the or not is you deciding to walk away. The or not is you deciding to cut the person out of your life. The or not is really, this is what I said. You heard what I said. I meant what I said. And now, because I said what I said, now I must do what I said I'm going to do if the rule is broken, if this deal breaker is in place. And today it's in place. And so I got to do what I got to do because you understand that you love you more and you're teaching this person how to truly treat you. It doesn't mean that you cannot accept their apology, but at the end of the day, you disrespected one of my rules. And because you disrespected one of my rules, now I have to enforce. I must enforce what I said to you, because if I don't, I am going to feel like a loser. I am going to feel guilty if I don't respect myself and respect my own rules and enforce them with you. I love you, but I love me more. I do. I truly love you, but I truly love me more. and you didn't honor what we talked about. So I must honor what I said that I'm going to do and follow through. That is how you get the relationship that you want. That is how you stop being frustrated with yourself. That is how you stop being frustrated with all of those around you as well, including but not limited to your spouse. The next way to get the relationship that you want is to embrace your alone time. Now, I want to talk to you ladies and gents that are out there in the dating phases, because what I'm finding is when I talk to my clients, they have a hard time embracing their alone time. They feel like, and is it every one of them? Of course not, but it is the majority. But they feel like they have to spend time with someone. They have to fill the space. They have to fill the void in order for them to not feel lonely. But what you don't understand, you're feeling lonely is because you have not dealt with the stuff that comes up at night that I talked about earlier. You have not accepted where you're at. You hate it. You despise it. And because of that, you don't want to deal with it. And you don't deal with it, not realizing that it is eating you up internally. It's truly eating you up when you're not dealing with your stuff. Being able to embrace your alone time without feeling lonely is an absolute blessing. If you don't like being in your company, why would somebody else like to be in your company? If you can't embrace the quiet and still when you're by yourself, how are you going to be able to embrace the quiet and still when you are in a relationship with somebody else? You are going to feel like you have to feel every quiet moment, and you don't. But understanding that you don't need to feel every quiet moment is important. It's also allowing you to accept the fact, this is where I'm at today. Understanding why you're there today. And then when the new test comes, because it's coming in the form of a different pair of pants or a different skirt, it's coming. And when that new test comes, now you're able to step back, assess the situation, give yourself time to be alone so you can figure out, do I really like this person, or am I just going along with the flow because they're showing me some attention? Do I really want to move this relationship forward with this person? Or are you just moving the relationship forward because you have not had time to assess? You will feel okay moving at your own speed versus feeling like you have to move at somebody else's speed. If you're not okay with it, say you're not okay with it. If you don't want to move that fast, say you don't want to move that fast. But being alone and embracing your alone time will give you this time an opportunity to assess what's actually happening with you. How are you really feeling about the situation? How are you really feeling about the person? Versus just going along with the flow each and every day, not realizing that the more time you spend with this person, you're not giving them a chance either to settle down and assess you. And at some point, then a quick, fast break, or you feeling like you got ghosted, comes into play. But a lot of that happens because you're moving so fast that you haven't had time to slow down to assess how you're truly feeling. And so that ghosting a lot of times comes from, I was moving too fast and I ain't want this. And now I'm in it. Holy crap. Got to go. Pew! And then you gone. Embrace your alone time. You be good when you embrace your alone time. The next way to get the relationship that you want is to fight the right way. Fighting / arguing / in some type of a conflict. Learning how to do it the right way is the best way to get the relationship that you want. When you fight dirty, when you hit below the belt, when you bring up all of the sensitive stuff and information that your spouse or partner shared with you in the time that they were being vulnerable, and now you're using it against them, is the worst way to fight with a person. You immediately lose their trust, and they will not, please lean in and hear this, they will never become vulnerable with you again, because you have destroyed the trust that they entrusted to you by revealing who you truly are with them, or them revealing how hurt, how painful the stuff that they went through was for them, and now you're using it against them. If you fight dirty, you'll never win their trust. Hitting below the belt, something you can forgive the words, but you never forget the pain that was associated with that person throwing it in your face later on. Don't fight dirty, sis. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be over it, and he's going to be thinking, if I share even a darker secret with her, I will never forgive myself for opening up and being vulnerable with her, because I know, based off of past experience, what she's going to do. And as soon as she doesn't get her way, as soon as she feels like she can get me and hold me by my jewels, she is. And I'm going to be crushed. So instead of me feeling like I'm going to be crushed, I'm just going to hold on to this information. Nah, not doing that again. I'm not giving that to her again. And all of a sudden, now the distance between the two of you is just creeping in and out. Before you know it, you wondering, how come we don't talk no more? How come we don't spend as much time as we once spent together? Wow, I feel lonely, and I'm in a relationship. Not realizing the part that you played in your current loneliness. Which brings me to the next point. If you find yourself in that situation and you were the person to fight dirty, now it's time for you to sincerely apologize for what you did as well as what you said. And I mean sincerely apologize, and really mean when you say, I'm never going to do that again. Really mean it. But guess what? Because the trust was broken, now you cannot make or even demand your partner to move any faster to trust you. Trust is very easy to gain in the beginning, but it's also very easy to lose at any moment in the relationship. Not just the beginning. At any moment in the relationship, trust can be destroyed just like that. And guess what? Trying to rebuild the trust takes way longer than when it was freely given in the beginning. So trying to demand the person get over it. Y'all been through this. It's been years. You did it. So now, if you want the relationship, you have to go through the process of rebuilding it, which means continuing to be vulnerable, continuing to say, I'm sorry when you're wrong, not apologizing over and over and over again about the same thing, but when you're wrong, apologize. If you have yet to apologize and you were the dirty fighter, you have to. It is a must in order to get the relationship that you want, because you'll never get the relationship that you want, to be freely open and feel super connected with your spouse and even with yourself, because you beating yourself up. Trust me, I already know. Been there, done that. And so you can stop beating yourself up by understanding what you need to do. And in this moment, that is, you need to apologize sincerely and never, ever, ever break that person's trust again. but now allow them to heal and trust you at their own timing. Getting the relationship that you want, you have to ask questions and continue to be curious about your partner or spouse, who they are, what they want in life, how their day was, what their week is looking like, what their new goals are, how they are attaining them, what's the plan to get there, what's the first step, who do they need to call, right? Can you help them in any type of way? But just getting curious about their dreams and aspirations and really their life overall. That's how you're getting the relationship that you want. You're being curious with your partner or spouse. And guess what? In turn, he or she is going to be curious about your life. Because just because you two are in a relationship together, you still have to maintain the relationships that you have individually on your own with yourself. Not outsiders' relationships. I'm talking about the relationship that you have with yourself. So yes, you have a relationship together, but you still should be growing individually as well as together. That is how you're getting the relationship that you want, by continuously growing on your own as well as growing together. Another way to get the relationship that you want is to remember to be affectionate. Now, you have to understand your partner's love language, because everybody doesn't need physical touch and they don't want the affection. Some people need it, others don't. But showing affection the way that your spouse needs it is how you are going to get the relationship that you want. Because what you two are going to do, if you have not done this, is you're going to have a conversation about what your top 3 love languages are, and then show one another those love languages. Because what we have a tendency to do, we have a tendency to show love to our spouses the way that we want to receive love. So if you are a person that likes gifts, that means that you are probably always, if not always, most of the time, you are giving gifts as a way to show your love to your spouse. It's not wrong if this is your spouse's love language as well, one of the top 3. But it's wrong if it's not. You're not connecting in the way that he or she needs it by just showing them love the way that you need it. So have the conversation about what your top 3 love languages are, and then start to show one another your top 3 love languages the way that you guys need to receive it. Because research actually shows that when you show love the top 3 ways that the person needs it, you two will have a really good relationship. And I think it actually says great instead of good, but I'm going to say good. Regardless, it is a really good time. You feel good about your choice. You feel good about your partner. You feel good about being in the relationship that you are in present day. And guess what? You don't even have wandering eyes, because why do I need to wander outside my relationship when I'm getting what I want, when I'm getting what I need from the person that I'm in a relationship with today, now? So I don't have to. You don't have to, right? Another way to get what you want, another way to get the relationship that you want, is to learn each other's stress patterns. Sometimes there are going to be stress patterns. All the time there are going to be stress patterns, because life is going to come in and knock us upside the head. You might not be able to pinpoint it in the beginning, but at some point there is going to be a pattern that is going to form, and you have to be willing to look for the pattern so you can understand, okay, he had a hard time at work, and so this is what he usually does when he has a hard time at work or a very stressful time at work. So what I'm going to do is give him his me time, and I'm going to do my thing so I can give him time to think about and assess what's actually going on, and maybe even come up with the plan, and I can go off and do the things that I actually want to do myself. So learn each other's stress patterns, because there are absolutely patterns within your relationship. It just is going to take you time to sit back and really evaluate what's happening, why it's going down, and why you two are pretty much going neck and neck with one another when it's not needed. Another way to get the relationship that you want is literally to say thank you and say it often. We don't hear thank you enough from the people that we are in relationship with. It is kind of like expected and even taken for granted to give the person the thing or things that they're not necessarily asking for, but what they need, right? And so in order to make sure that you're getting a relationship that you want, say thank you as often as possible. I don't mean to just say it because you can see him, right? But if he or she is doing something for you, it's courtesy to say thank you and not to just take it and go back to doing whatever you're doing. Literally, we have this down packed here, and we say thank you for little things, right? Picking up the plate, thank you. Taking out the garbage, thank you. Cleaning up X, Y, and Z, thank you. Oh, you went to the store and got X, Y, and Z, thank you. It is just a way to acknowledge and not to take the person, in this case your spouse, for granted, because each of us want to feel like we are in relationship with someone else, but we also want to feel appreciated and honored in the relationship that we are in. I am Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is how you get the relationship that you want. You have to be able to show up day in and day out. Be very intentional about the relationship that you are creating, because you have the power, as well as you are a co-creator in creating the relationship that you're currently in. So why not show up in a manner so you can create and get the relationship that you want? I will see you, and you will hear from me next.